art director, Ben Thompson. Sorry, Ben. Welcome.
How you
There's
doing,
so
guys?
much happening, Ben. We got to keep up with a lot of live updates. And even you guys over at Hearthstone have your own invitational going on. So
Absolutely.
we're watching you guys quite a bit.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, there's a lot to do in 2 days. It goes really fast if you're not paying attention. And it's easy to not pay attention to everything.
And you guys had a huge announcement with the expansion of Kobolds and Catacombs. So tell us a little bit about how you guys framed the art direction around that.
We couldn't be more excited about the new set. The new set takes you back to the early days of fantasy gaming, the dungeon crawl, going down into a dungeon, knocking down doors with your best friends, looting the creatures that you find and beat there, and then doing it all again on repeat. So there's new single-player content in the form of the dungeon run. The dungeon run is something that we're really excited about and want to get players into and excited about as well. It's really a good opportunity for one of the most replayable modes of Hearthstone. And in addition to that is the same 135 cards that you come to want from Standard, and that's going to create some awesome meta for our players.
Let's talk a little bit about Hearthstone as a whole, because this is such a unique, cool game. It exploded. It was sort of like the sleeper thing that just rose, and now everybody plays it. So from an art perspective, how do you guys go into designing a card?
It's changed a little bit over time if you consider that, as you said, way back in the day, it was one of those, do we want them to even look like cards? How do these things look? Where do we start with these? Certainly as we came around to the fact that they are cards, they have to be very class specific. They have to look and feel like they belong to a specific class. Not only that, but they have to show a certain amount of rarity involved, you know, from the rare to common to legendary ultimately. When we move into something like Kobolds and Catacombs, and we've included for the very first time legendary weapons, they're going to pick up that silver drake, they're going to get those orange gems.
I'm excited about that.
Super excited.
How
All
did that
classes
come about? Were you guys like, you know, let's just give them the legendary, like, and you just earn them through card packs?
Well, it's a loot set, right?
It is.
It's all about getting the loot. So if we're going to get the loot, we want to make sure everybody gets fair game.
Right.
So the way we've done that is we've introduced legendary weapons, one for each of the classes. Even the classes that didn't get weapons before, get them now. So you've got mages and priests can suddenly
and it's just already
start
equipped
wielding.
onto it.
No, you'll actually have to get them in the card like you would normally, and you'll equip them as you would. The benefit that we have now is when you log in for the very first time after release, you're going to get a random legendary weapon given to you right out of the gate.
Oh, wow.
So it's a cool opportunity to see what these new cards are like. Maybe a cool new opportunity to play a hero you've never played before.
Yeah, because who knows what kind of card it could be.
Could be,
Look, speaking about just opening the card backs and the joy that one gets from that explosion, you are the man that was responsible for creating that card pack explosion. Is that right?
Satisfying
Early on.
open animation.
Well, it's never down to one person, but as the first art person hired on the team, it was certainly my job to develop a lot of the style that we've come to know on the game. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Of course, it's born from everything that we love in Warcraft. Where do we take it from there? A lot of that was discussion with the team. At the time of 15, 17 people, now we're more than 87, 89 people. That's a big growth over the time. I couldn't do it without people like John Zwicker, who did the first animations for how those packs exploded. Kyle Harrison providing a lot of the tech that was involved to get those things to happen. You know, ideas are great, but we got to have everybody involved to make them come to life.
How much harder is it to work at the scale that you guys are now? It must have been fun to have that sort of nimble, go-get-'em team. But now, I mean, opportunities open up when the whole company is like, well, what's going on over here? How is it different now than it was?
It's a lot of give and take. I mean, when you're only 15 people, you're only capable of so much. So you do have to be nimble, as you say. Everybody's a generalist. Everybody's getting their hands dirty. As you grow now, and we're in our 80s, now we have more available to us in terms of resources, but we're also trying to do more with the game, right? We've got new modes coming in. We've got fireside gatherings coming to bear. We've got new events in the form of the Hallows Eve event that's going on right now. There's so many things we want to do and really places we want to take the game that, I mean, it feels like 80 people, feels like 15.
Not to mention, too, your esports has grown just insane. I mean, are you involved at all on that level with esports? What kind of you know, art goes into that?
Art that goes into that, we tend to work with a lot of the different outlets when it comes to their wireframes and the kind of the window and UI through which you see your tournaments. How do you have the player boxes? What is the art required for that user interface? My personal involvement at that point, and this goes to much of the game at this point, is I do all the paintings for the logos, and that includes the 3 logos that were on all of our different championships as well. I get a lot of help from marketing, which is really great too, to have their input, and we do a nice back and forth that comes up with some great stuff.
Well, you guys always do such a great job with the art, and I mean, Kobolds and Catacombs is no exception.
Super exciting.
And the fact that you actually made the intro animation, or that great reveal animation in 3D.
You got to go retro sometimes. Retro's the new now.
So. Really fun.
Retro is the new now. So how was it working with characters like the Kobolds, which have, you know, they have a past in Warcraft.
Absolutely.
To update them to expand that universe of Kobolds. What was that like?
Our favorite parts of World of Warcraft to build on are the ones that do come with a storied past and somebody that we immediately players have an affinity for. And there's always that story of Kobolds and no take candle. Everything coming into that sets a nice foundation. But beyond that, there's not a lot of lore in World of Warcraft surrounding these characters.
I guess that's true, yeah.
So to get to build a little bit on that and play to that, not in a way that anyone should ever consider canon, but really kind of a fun, oh, that's a neat idea, or that's a fun story or tall tale. What does their catacomb looks like? What is their dungeon trove, possible of containing? All makes for interesting questions, and hopefully some of those answers come through players in the dungeon run and then standard ladder.
You know what I hear from you a lot as you're talking about Hearthstone and just the experience in general of working on it is that you're so good about including, I mean, everybody at Blizzard's like this, but you're so good about including your entire team. And it's something we were talking a little bit off camera about, but it's not just one person.
Never.
You guys have such an incredible team, even if it's now grown to 80 people. This is a team that you guys all count on to think of new ideas and iterate together. And it seems like this one in particular, this expansion, kind of hits close to a lot of you guys because it kind of comes from that old tabletop kind of feel.
For sure.
Classic kind of dungeon raids.
We couldn't be prouder of the team, and that's never more true than on this set. So if you look at Kobolds and Catacombs and go all the way back to the classic and even standard sets, the good thing about that is that you end up seeing the humor and the personality of the people building that game in every part of it. When you're going into the spinner that loads like your next matchmaking and you see all those dorky, silly ones that could have been other than perfect match, you're really starting to get an insight into the kind of the attitude and personality of everybody on the team. There's no ego on the team whatsoever, and I've never been prouder of a team that is so proud to come up with the next dumb idea that we can build onto a less dumb idea to a, oh my God, I love that idea, I wish I'd thought of it. And we couldn't be more happy about that kind of interaction.
You guys are one of the coolest teams inside of Blizzard. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Ben, for coming by.